Good afternoon. On behalf of IIACD and our Indian Academy of Cerebral Palsy, EB, and Board of Directors, and I welcome all of you to this webinar on global listening and sharing session. Our hearty welcome to distinguished panelists and chairperson for this session, Professor Jayanti Pujari, Dr. Nandita Sharan, Mr. Pratik Agrawal, and Dr. Geet Kaul, and Dr. Jalaj Nagar, who will be disseminating their experiences on this topic. And we extend our hearty welcome to our dear Gail Kilgore. Thank you very much. And actually, I want to give a very, very brief introduction about this global listening session. This is a 16th series. I'm very happy to share this today. Around 35 countries are participating in the global listening and sharing session, coinciding with the World Disability Day. This initiative provides a valuable platform for the global community
Hey, I
to
want physio from 12:30. I want.
unite and reflect on collective experiences. The program features 24 consecutive hour-long sessions. Today, the whole day, across the globe, all countries are hosting in a different time zones, regional group, and a common theme. With a common theme that is moving to adulthood, navigating and finding support pathways. On this theme, all over the across the globe, all the countries are hosting the session. And by spanning multiple time zones, it is to that parents, individuals with lived experience, and rehab professionals and healthcare professionals can meaningfully participate from anywhere in the world. With this, I welcome all the panelists and participants to this global listening and sharing session. I welcome all of you, and I'll give a brief introduction about our panelists. And Dr. Professor Jayanti Pujari is the Dean Faculty of Rehabilitation Sciences, Professor and Director, MIT Institute of Rehabilitation Sciences, MIT University, Noida. She will chair the session today. And then we come to the Nandita Sharan. Dr. Nandita Sharan, the play. She is a dedicated powerhouse and principal of NAB Delhi Preparatory School and Head Center for Multiple Disabilities Unit. Goes beyond by offering support and counseling to caregivers, teachers, and parents. She has touched many lives by her gentle love, care, and expertise in special education. She is also director Beyond Eyes Foundation. We hearty welcome to this session, Dr. Nandita Sharan. Then I am going to introduce you to a wonderful person, very humble person, Dr. Jalaj Nagar. He is a dedicated social work professional and PhD scholar from Delhi School of Social Work, who has been making significant strides in empowering individuals with disabilities, especially spinal cord injuries, and advocating for social justice. He met with a road accident at 16, left him with a quadriplegia and 6 years of rehabilitation. He chose education and as his path to independence, turning challenges into strength and purpose. He was also selected for government job in CPWD, but chose to step away to dedicate himself fully to the disability sector. Today, through his research and lived experience, he is working to inspire hope and inclusion for the spinal cord injury community. Welcome, Dr. Jalaj Nagar, to this session. Thank you very much for joining us. Dr. Geet Kaul, she's an architect by profession. She left that profession and started working as a primary caregiver to her younger daughter. Apurva, 29 years old, adult with a special needs. Apurva functions at the development 1.5 to 2 years old and requires full-time care. Alongside caregiving, Geet provides one-to-one, one-on-one tutoring at home for school-going children who need individualized attention. She completed her diploma in special education, autism spectrum disorder in and has worked in special education schools and now from home. And as I told you that she is an architect, her background is drawing and visual communication enhances her teaching approach as a visual learning support students comprehension.
You
Our
can keep
hearty
it for 2
welcome
days.
to
Monday we will
this
remove.
session,
Okay?
Dr.
Yeah.
Geeta Paul. Thank
It's
you
done.
very much for joining us. Now we come to Pratik Agrawal. Pratik Agrawal is a very young and dynamic person and an executive director of ASTA, a community-based organization. I request all of you to please mute your mics. Hello. A community-based organization that has been working on disability rights in the urban slums. Hello. Please mute your mics. Slums of Delhi for 3 decades through grassroots levels, grassroots interventions and research. He leads ASTA efforts to ensure equitable access to health, early childhood care, inclusive education and life skills for children.
Vinky Ganchani, please mute yourself.
Skills for children with disabilities across its 5 community centers. Pratik conducts disability sensitization training for government and non-government functionaries and has co-authored multiple articles, reports and studies on the status of children and persons with a disability. I will welcome to Pratik Agrawal for joining this session and we thank you. And now I request Dr. And Professor Jayanti Pujari to take over this session and take these proceedings forward.
Good afternoon, everybody. I think I am audible.
Yes, madam.
Yes.
Yeah, a very good afternoon to all. And first of all, I express my gratitude for giving me this opportunity, such a great opportunity with all the esteemed and worthy panelists. And my heartfelt gratitude to IACP, Indian Academy of Cerebral Palsy, and IAACD for giving me this opportunity to chair all the worthy and eminent panelists. Thank you for that. And about the topic, that is the moving to adulthood. The topic is very close to my heart. And being a disability rehabilitation professional since last 35 years, I always wonder that how can we make this adulthood a smooth transition and improve and provide a very good independent life to persons with disability. And when we say about this, becoming an adult, moving into work, and adjusting to new health and support needs are all part of a journey of progress and setbacks, action and inaction, and a journey that is rarely addressed in disability research. I am in a research university. I find that very less research are there in these transition areas. When we talk about all the youth, the transition from adolescence to adulthood is marked by rapid physical, emotional, and cognitive growth. All of us also have undergone all this transition in our life. During this period, adolescents go through rapid changes while also planning for independence and developing their own vision of life as adults. In taking steps towards this transition, most youth rely on the support of their network, including family, friends, school, and the community. But for the adolescents with disabilities, The challenges of transition to adulthood is compounded by impairment in areas such as mobility, communication, learning, access to higher education, employment, independent life, etc. Additional support is therefore warranted to optimize their transition. And with this, I feel that the topic has been very well chosen for this listening session. And when we talk about some of the support needs, skills required, the skills they will need for their life after school, job readiness, self-advocacy, independent living skills, and it also addresses the needs for support in all aspects of their adult life, like social skill, independent living skill, job training, engage in their community, and also the same type of disability never affects different individuals in the same way. One example of this is cerebral palsy, a group of conditions that mainly interferes with the movement and posture. But some people with CP also have intellectual disability, epilepsy, and visual impairment. And with this knowledge in mind, the main I feel that the 7 ways disability can impact everyday life is activity of daily living. Everybody knows that activity of daily living, community and social participation, recreational and physical activities, education, employment, independent living, and community resources. All these areas are very, very important. And with all this, the impact, impair, and how when they find and navigate support pathways. So here are our esteemed panelists who will be discussing and representing their lived experiences about the topic. And moving towards the panel discussion, first of all, my hearty congratulations to all the panelists. I welcome all the panelists, esteemed and worthy panelists. And to start with, I would like to request Dr. Nandita Saran to give her perspective about the topic, and then please elaborate on the existing practices in school education that bridges the gap of transition issues from school to college. Over to you, Dr. Nandita.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, IACP, and all the participants who have found time to be on this webinar, actually discussing such an important aspect of life which our children with disabilities are facing and are going to face. Just a disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. I would have loved to do my PhD, but unfortunately, my education, formal education, so to speak, I have done only my master's in life sciences. I was not able to pursue a PhD degree. So that I would just like to put on board. Thank you, ma'am. And as we have, you all have introduced me, I have more than 2.5, 3 decades of experience of working with children with visual impairment and multiple disabilities. When we talk about adulthood, transition from adulthood to the job scenario, actually the transition planning starts right from the beginning. There is no magic pill that we can say that, okay, after school, the transition is going to be smooth. The whole process of transition starts right at the beginning. And being associated with National Association for the Blind, the first step towards transition is making the child study in an inclusive school, rather than having them segregated at the stage of school. There could be blind schools, but there are no blind colleges or universities. Ultimately, that student has to go to the society. So the best way to do it is to assimilate them as early as possible so that they are able to actually go through the process right from the beginning. you are not only introducing the child to the society is also in the process getting sensitized to the needs of a child with visual impairment. We have had at our center nearly 3 decades of inclusion. Much before the right to education came in, all our visually impaired students are actually studying in mainstream schools. And believe me, that is the first step towards assimilation, towards preparing the child for adulthood. Now, when we talk about, as Jayanti ma'am pointed out, it's not just about academics. There is a whole plethora of areas which need to be addressed so that the child is actually, there is this seamless assimilation. Now, activities of daily living obviously is one of the most important aspects of transition towards adulthood. We can't, and as I said in the beginning, the whole process of transition starts from the early ages. We don't leave it to the time that, okay, the child, he does not have independent mobility. So what? There is a caretaker who will take him to school, get him back from school. But what happens once he goes to college? You can support maybe till college. What happens when we're looking for independent jobs? So that is how we need to plan. So activities of daily living, academics, socialization, how, for example, when I'm talking about visually impaired, there are many adults we have seen who are unable to, when they're talking on the mic, they are not able to face the audience. Their head could be somewhere, not okay, they are unable to see, but then you train them in a way so that where the sound is coming, the head should be facing that. You speak in the mic and you are not following that simple principle of how to address the audience. These are very, very small things that can affect a person once he starts intermingling in the society, once he goes for maybe a job interview. He doesn't know how to face the person whom he's talking to. Minute aspects, dressing, I would say, why should we feel that a child who has visual impairment, he is not able to see, but he cannot dress up smartly? Very, these are minute aspects of adulthood which can make a huge difference. If you, a child who's able to see, he can say, okay, this is not the color I want, this is not my dress, I have my choice. That same choice should be trained into that visually impaired or person with disability, that your needs are no different from the child who's studying with you. All their needs are similar. They need to go out. It's not that he is not able to see, movies nahi le jayenge. No, that shouldn't happen. Take them to malls, take them to parks, take them for picnics, include them at every step of any household function. That's where actual inclusion and actual preparation of adulthood starts. We've had examples of parents actually not involving their child. And it is a very, I would say, more an urban-centric problem than a problem in the rural households. Rural households are still more open to disability than educated parents who feel that, okay, maybe I am not wanting to share my child with, I'm not prepared to share my child with the others. Believe me, if the parents are strong, they stand up for the rights of the child, the society does accept. And once you are there, the parents, the siblings are the best advocates for their child. If they advocate for their child's rights, that's how the child or the adult also learns to advocate for his or her own rights. And these are very small aspects which are very doable. It doesn't need any rocket science, any hi-fi technology. It's just a mindset that one needs to imbibe, a culture that one needs to imbibe as a professional and as a parent. So these are certain small aspects that I touched upon, but very, very important for any transition into adulthood. Right from the beginning, if we inculcate that thought process, you are equally important, you're as good as any one other person in the classroom, you are able to do as well as the other persons. That gives the morale boost to the self-esteem of a person. And if that self-esteem is there, that just makes the whole process of transition so smooth. Then coming to the academics. Earlier we had the mindset, okay, maybe these are the subjects that maybe a child who has communication issues or who has visual impairment may not be able to do. We as professionals here again need to change the mindset. We've had technology available for many decades, and that is improving day by day. Earlier, we used to see that most students, because our school system, CBSE, allows for choosing of subjects, visual impairment, hey, let's take up music, let's take up home science. Those typical subjects, we will not be able to do science. STEM education is the buzzword amongst other students. Why deprive the visually impaired of that opportunity? And I'm glad that technology does support us now. Gone are the days then where maths could be only done on a Taylor frame or on braille. Maths through AI, through co-pilots, there's a whole opportunity waiting wherein a visually impaired can do mathematics
Yes,
using
Nandita ma'am.
computers.
Nandita ma'am, we will be coming back to you for the assistive technology
Okay,
in the
ma'am.
second question. And very wonderfully, you have brought out the main crux of the transition. Like the main theme, you have told the transition starts from the beginning. Assimilation is very, very in the right way.
Absolutely.
Assimilation is very important. And also one very important, you said that the independence gives rise to self-esteem and self-esteem gives rise to successful transition. Thank you so much for this.
Most welcome.
And I will come back to you for the assistive technology because I know NAB is a pioneer in assistive technology for persons with a disability. And now I move to our next panelist, Mr.
Thank you.
Jalaj Nagar. Good afternoon, Jalaj. I think you are here.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah. So first, I would request you to give you your perspective on the topic of the panel discussion, moving to adulthood, finding and navigating support pathways, and then please you can like shed light on little what are the misconceptions about adulthood, independence and capabilities that society holds towards persons with disability. Over to you, Jalaj.
Firstly, I would like to thank all the organizers having me here. So, if I talk about my perspective, I had a spinal cord injury at age of 16.
May I request to switch on your video, Jalaj? We are not able to see you.
Ma'am, actually, it is not possible because the phone is not near me.
Okay.
My apologies for that.
Carry on.
So, firstly, I
Very
would
good.
like to. So, I had a spinal cord injury at the age of 16 when I was in class 10th, and life completely changed after that. It was not easy, but slowly I learned how to build my life and stay hopeful. For me, adulthood is not doing everything alone. It's about having the right support to make our own choices. Support from my teachers, friends, mentors helped me continue my studies and move forward, especially my mother and my sisters. Then my journey from being a social work student to a PhD scholar has been patience, strength, and purpose. I believe that with the right environment and understanding, every young person with a disability can move ahead with a confidence and dignity. So, if I talk about myself, I have a electronic wheelchair which has a chin controlled joystick. So I don't have power below my shoulders. So I'm a completely quadriplegia. So, ma'am, you have asked about the misconceptions. So I would like to speak something about that. So many people believe that the person with disability will always depend on others. Society often doubts our ability to make our own decision and live independently. I feel that independent doesn't mean doing everything alone. It means getting the right support and to make our own choices. In my journey, I have completed my post graduation, started my PhD, and got
वही
into a
करेगा
counseling.
हम करेंगे ही करेंगे
Amrin ji, please please mute your mic. Amrin ji, please mute your mic.
हम भी सोच रहे हैं वही
Amrin
ट्रॉली
ji, please
ट्रॉली
go
मेरा
ahead, Jalaj.
No, 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 no worries, ma'am.
हाँ
So these,
कॉलेज बैग नहीं रखा पढ़ने भी जाता है बच्चा कि नहीं जाता है पता
so I think these experience showed me that disability doesn't stop adulthood; it gives a new big meaning. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Jalaj ji. Thank you. We are very proud of you. With all these challenges, also you are the example. You are a model for all of us. All the like fraternity of persons with young adult with a disability, and our all best wishes for your PhD.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Moving forward in the panel discussion, I would like to request Geet Kaulji. Like, first of all, I would request you to give your perspective. You are a parent, you are a special educator, you are a combination of both. So please give us your perspective on this adulthood, moving to adulthood, finding and navigating support pathways. And then please, I would like to tell you that, can you please tell us about what emotional and practical challenges do families experience when they are what transit to adulthood? Over to you, Geet Kaulji.
Thank you, ma'am. My name is Geeta Kaul. And
Geeta Kaul, okay.
um,
Sorry, I'm sorry.
no, it's
It
okay.
is written Geet Kaul, so I thought.
Yeah. And as I was introduced that I'm an architect, I think that was 25 years back that I was doing architecture. And since last 25 years, 25 or 26 years, I've been in this field of special education. So my journey started with my daughter. I have a daughter who is now 29 years old. She has intellectual impairment, and as per AIMS, her mental age is around 2 years. But definitely in some areas, she's I can say she understands more, but otherwise she's dependent on me for all her ADLs, and she has no appropriate communication. I won't say no communication. She has autism also. So she has her own inappropriate way of communication. Though I learned special ed, I did a diploma in ASD. I realized when I started working in a special school that Apurva had her own limitations. So I could not push her to learn what I was teaching other students. So for many years, our routine was that I would go with her to a special school. I would work in a different class. She would be there and I would come back. So these decisions were taken mainly to for her safety, because I didn't want to send her in a van or any other public transport or even school's transport also. And but luckily I got the opportunity to learn special ed, and so I could utilize my knowledge also along with her journey. So I would say, as far as moving towards adulthood is concerned, when during adolescence, I mean, when her the crucial point was when her period started. So I felt that the life before that and after that is quite different. And it is surprising, but the life after that, I would say, is much more healthier for her. In fact, she became physically healthier after her period started, and they became regular. And some of the behaviors also which were there, they disappeared. And the best advantage was that since her age of 9 months, she had severe seizure disorder. So that would mean that every 3 months she would get a cluster of seizures. And when she would get these seizures, so whatever skill we were trying to make her learn, everything would go into regression, and she would be bedridden for a few days. So, like, there was no, as such, development in her as far as the skills are concerned. But I'm linking it to this periods, because after that, that is when she was around 14 and 15 years of age, we realized that her seizures started decreasing, and then they stopped around when she was 15, 16 years of age. They stopped completely. So that was a big change for her and for our family also. So, and as the seizures stopped, there was a little improvement in her adolescence. But definitely there were challenges, because of autism, she had sensory issues, mainly sensory issues with touch, with clothing. So, and in autism, it's difficult to teach children the social norms, what is right and what is wrong. So it was difficult for me to make her understand that pulling off her clothes in public is not the right thing to do, or pulling up her shirt is not the right thing to do. So as a child, somehow it was managed, but as she became older, in her adulthood, it became very tough. So in spite of the occupational therapy, the sensory integration therapy that she was getting, this behavior did not go. Especially in summers, we felt that it was a big issue. So we came up with, because as a mother, I was trying different things, what all I can do. So I came up with this idea of making her wear a jumpsuit. Jumpsuit is a one-piece dress, and that also, in jumpsuit also, I had to look for the pattern that she would not pull it off. If it is strappy, she will pull it off like this and this. So the design should be such that if it has a zipper from the behind. So and nowadays, in fact, it's in fashion now. She looks very stylish with the jumpsuit. So, like, though it was a huge challenge, I felt that making this little adaptation, she looks good in that dress. And another problem that I was facing was when she actually, there were more problems in adolescence, and we through as we faced the challenges, we tried to find solutions. And by the time she became an adult, she became 22, 23, there was a set pattern of solutions that we had for her. So, in fact, I would say it was the adolescence that taught me also how we will take care of her in adulthood. So, like this modification in clothing, and she had a sleep disorder also. So for many nights she would not sleep till 3 or 4 in the morning. That affected my sleep also, and I always thought that my sleep was affected due to her. But this notion changed when we moved to a new flat. We bought a new flat, and there she had a separate room for herself. Before that, we used to be in the same room. So actually, my experience is very specific. I'm talking specifically to my child's this thing. Otherwise, with my students in my special schools, the experiences with adulthood was different. So, but I thought that sharing this is also important. So when we went to a new flat, she got a separate room. And from the very first day, we made her sleep there. And I realized that she was sleeping very nicely. So, in fact, it was not that she was disturbing me, it was that my presence was a disturbance for her in her sleep, maybe. So now, since her room is attached to my room, so when she gets up, I have to get up 3-4 times during the night and take her to the washroom. But still, she's able to get a full night's sleep, and sometimes not so good. And the same with me also. But this is basically, I would say, that the physical impact was such that physical impact we could manage somehow. The sleep issues, the clothing issue, and all these things, all these issues we could manage. But yes, the emotional impact was more challenging for the family, for my relationship with my extended family.
Yes, yes, yes. We really appreciate you, Geeta ji. And it is said that one dozen professional is equal to one parent. And you being a parent and being a professional, being a parent, you could identify that what is interfering or sensory issues.
Yeah.
And in the clothing, in the like sleep apnea, all these things you could manage with your own effort, trial and error. And definitely, as you said, that I was about to ask that you also must be interacting with other parents and all.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
yeah, and that that is definitely. I'll come back to you for the emotional impact afterwards. Let me go to this.
Sure.
And it is like very rightly you have pointed out that it is not dependent on for everything. Like independent living is not living independently. You
Yeah.
know, independent living is if the persons with disability, they are exercising their choice,
True.
then it is independent living. So there are different layers of independent living depending upon their impairment for the disability. So if anybody is they are exercising their choice, then that is also an independent living. Thank you for this, and we'll come back to you for the other thing.
Yeah.
And thank you so much. And now I move to Pratik Agrawal ji, and hope you are here, Pratik ji. Yes. Yes. May I request you to please give your perspective on the topic of the panel discussion, and then please tell that what is the gap in the policy and practice. As you know, India has a progressive legislation and acts and all. And how do you feel from your perspective? You see that what are the existing gaps which really impairs the transition of the adulthood. Over to you, Pratik ji.
Thank you, Dr. Jayanti. Our work is majorly in urban slums of Delhi. So we work a lot with children and young adults with disabilities. While Geet was sharing, I could only just nod in, acceptance of her experience. And she was also saying that her experience in schools might be different, but we've seen the similar stories of what she was saying, in play out with most of the families that we have worked with. We've also seen that the transition from being a child to adolescent to adulthood is not a formal journey often, that you go from school to education to have an independent job and relationships and marriage. It's probably not that. For a lot of us, and also including adults with disabilities, it's more of a human journey, and which is often very complex, and I call it as a maze. And one of the focal points I see in that transition is what Geet was saying, that the fundamental often with transitioning is that one has to realize that there's huge caregiver burden on the parents itself and often on the mother. At least in my experiences across 8 years in working in urban slums, and you can't separate both of that, So the role of a caregiver who often has no support is very crucial to that transitioning of a young adult with disability. And she also is constantly trying to learn and adapt and see what can be possible, and she is doing it often with very little support from various quarters, be it from relatives, be it from friends, be it from the government systems. There are policies, but often in these marginalized communities, you feel that there's very little support. And in our experiences, that she was also she was also sharing about the jumps. So we've seen that, and the law also says that you move towards reasonable accommodation. the adaptations of clothing and independent living really works well in those resource constrained settings, and when parents learn and they become those experts. So yeah, I mean, I think I would just want to say that the caregiver burden, the reasonable accommodation, and the context of where you are often, become instrumental in how a young adult with disability is transitioning to the so-called adulthood. And I mean, one of the crucial things that we've also seen that, even when I was growing up, or when we were all were growing up, as a teenager, that you'll have agency when you'll turn that monumental age of 18 or 19, that the agency will come to you, which doesn't ever come for disabled kids, for adults, because and even in our journey, in spite of being here for 32 years, I mean, as an organization, we continue to call adults with disabilities as children. So the infanticization of all adults with disabilities and keep on calling them children, I think the agency to adulthood is becomes a gross challenge. But so these are just some of the context I would want to place. And then just quickly of the question that you asked, I think we've one of the strongest policies in place, Dr. Jayanti. I mean, we all know the RPWD is great, follow the CRPD principles. We have had Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan. We have now the UDID system, which is constantly evolving, and the skill development centers. I think the problem is, which we all of us know, that there's often very little information with families. So just as an example, I mean, so something like UDID card, because we work a lot in communities, and I'm here to give that context. Something like to how to make the UDID card of an adult with disabilities, of a young adult with disability, the person themselves don't know, So moving to adulthood also means the agency that a 17-year-old should be able to figure out how to get them the basic entitlements, and should not be dependent on a Pratik or a Astha or a different NGO. But that's what the situation is on ground. So I think that becomes very crucial, that the person should at least know how, and that is a responsibility for all of us and the government and the state, to give them that agency that they should apply for their certifications. And the other big thing is that, so enrollment, we've seen that access to education also becomes a challenge, as what Nandita ma'am was also saying. So starting from early intervention to inclusive education, even if a child or young adult goes to school, what happens after 8, 9, 10th and 11, 12, how does one make the transition plan? So the reality often in our government schools is that, and the teachers also say that the child is not up to that quote unquote level, that the 15-year-old is not to the academic level. They use the word level to that of all the non-disabled kids. But then how do you make a transition plan? Eventually, the child or the young adult will move out of the school, regardless if you fail or pass, and they have to go into the mainstream life. So how do you work out a transition plan? I think that's also very crucial. So the policies are there, Dr. Jain. The RPWD is there, the Samagra Shiksha is there, schemes and entitlement system is there. How does at that age of 15, 16, 17, and 18, the schools work out a transition plan regardless of the so-called level of that child, and ensure that they move to as independent as possible? As Geet was also saying, that in that flat, the adult moved towards independence, at least in some of the patterns. So how does that happen in a school, and how does the school take that responsibility for that ownership, and also lessen the burden on the parents a bit, and work in partnership at least. So I'll close here, and will contribute.
Okay. Thank you so much. And Pratikji, like you have very, like you have brought out the issue of the caregiver in the transition. That is a very important issue. Like in my experience also, I have seen the parent support goes long way. And with the parent support and caregiver support, the students of any different challenges, they really come up to the higher education and they hold a employment. And at the same time, if there is no support, family support and parent support, though policies are there, though school is ready to take, but parent has to take this little accountability. And that is really a hurdles in our day-to-day life and in Indian situation. And many times we have also seen I'm in the higher education, I have seen there are, it is an inclusive university, many are inclusive universities, but it is only academic qualification is not enough. the behavioral skill, the socio-emotional skill, that is also very important, which they will learn from the community, parent, and social system. And you have very well brought out the challenges of UDID card. That is, it is a really Herculean task for most of the parents. And also access to education level, like though the policy is existing, that there are education, no rejection policy and all, but still it is in school, colleges, and postgraduate level, it is very difficult for them to access the education. And in the similar way, now I would like to come to Nandita ji, that you please tell us about the assistive technology, how it can help in higher education. Like you have, NAV is known for the assistive technology, innovative assistive technology and assistive lab and all. Can you please bring out that how the persons with disability, how this assistive technology will facilitate them to access their adulthood and higher education? Over to you, Nandita.
Thank you, ma'am. Just a quick when we talk about social interaction and mingling with the society, right from childhood to young adult to adult, these days the best thing is get children to, young adults, not children, I would say, give them that groups in schools, in colleges, in your society. Let them intermingle right from a very young age. And then access to technology, if I talk about visually impaired, if I talk about deaf blindness, there is a huge amount of research that has gone, and successful technology is being used by both these categories. When we talk about visual impairment, we know there was a time when we were dependent only on screen reading softwares. Today, the year of smartphones, each smartphone is made accessible. You have the Talk Me Back option. You needn't load a software separately. You have the Talk Me Back option, which facilitates a visually impaired person to access all the apps. We can book on Zomato, so can the person with visual impairment. So can a person with deaf blindness, thanks to the refreshable braille display. Earlier, I remember it was PackMate, which was priced at 2 lakhs. Nowadays, we have the indigenous, developed by our own IITians, and Orbit refreshable braille display, which is costing so much less. So there is that accessible devices which help the students, which help. You are slowly doing away the dependence on scribes. You can, the student himself can, do everything on computers. So why depend on the scribe?
Yeah. Ma'am, one thing I would like to ask you, that is it affordable? Like for the adult, young adult with persons with disability, how affordable and accessible it is in Indian situation in the higher education? Just a sentence,
Yes,
because I will go
cost
to the
cost factor. But ma'am, if we talk about, you needn't depend on computers these days. If you have the smartphone with you, that smartphone makes a whole lot of difference, where everything is accessible, right from social media to, your apps, to your navigation, everything is there. So if a person can access smartphone, he can access the world. And that's how you train them. Plus, there are gadgets which promote independent living. There are a whole lot of, microwaves, washing machine, you name it, the household appliances are being made accessible. So it is, you need to explore and train and give them the opportunity of using those appliances so that they're able to transition into adulthood with minimum of hassles.
Yeah, you mean to say that there is a need to create the awareness and usability.
Yeah. There are options. You need to bring those options to the young adults.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. And then second, there are only 5 minutes left. I will be asking all other panelists to
Yes.
just 1 minute. I would request Jalaj ji that what do you recommend for the, like, how the higher education, from your experience, how do you feel that the higher education can be accessed by persons with disability?
Hello, ma'am, I'm audible.
Yes.
So basically, when I joined my college, I realized that inclusion is not only about the ramps or accessible toilets. The biggest challenge is people's attitude and lack of awareness. So,
Yes.
in my perspective, the college should ensure accessible classroom, digital materials, trained staff who understand the needs of students with disability. If I talk about in my case, small support like flexible timings, peer help, and accessible notes made me a huge difference to me. So, and if I talk about the accessibility issues and the technology, so as I told you, I am a quadriplegia. I don't have power below my shoulders. I completely use my mobile phone, my wheelchair with my mouth. So I have a voice controlled mobile phone with one app. So I totally do everything with my voice. So I think inclusion works best when students with disability feel respected, valued, and fully part of the campus. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Very well brought out. And that is the main principles of inclusion, is to make the persons valued and respectable. And also what I have learned in my experience, also the mindset is very, very important to access in the higher education. People's
Yes, ma'am,
mindset.
definitely. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah. With this, I would like to go to the next panelist, Geeta ji. And that can you please tell us that what are the like strategies to strengthen home-school partnership
Yeah. Uh,
from your experience?
Yeah, ma'am. Children who are going to integrated school, as far as academics is concerned, there are changes in the curriculum that they can follow as per their ability. So, but we have noticed that mostly there is a lot of pressure on learning the academics, and the parents also go through a lot of pressure that. So that to match that level of expectations. In fact, sometimes not sometimes, but most of the times, the projects and assignments that the children are supposed, children or maybe young adults are supposed to do when they are in 11th or 12th, so it is mostly the parents who are doing those assignments. So somehow they just manage to make them go through the schooling. But one thing missing there is the other skills that are needed for them in the adulthood. So the special educators who are working there in those special schools, it is very important that they involve the parents at a regularly, and they are in touch with the parents about each and every aspect of the child, the behavior, especially the behavior issues of the child. Academics, they are getting the feedback, but the behavior changes as the adolescence comes and they become older. So those things, and children and those adults, the young adults, they behave differently at home in a structured environment in the supervision of their parents, but they behave differently when they get freedom in school. By freedom I mean because it's a large group, so difficult for the teacher to control what they are saying or what they are doing. So it is very important, whatever the teacher notices in the class, she notifies it to the special educator, and the special educator is in touch with the parents, and they develop a program which both are following to them those skills, behaviors.
Yeah. Thank you. Very, very well. You have highlighted the socio-emotional skills of adults, which is very much required to be success in higher education. Isn't it? Thank you so much,
दिसंबर
Geeta
में
ji.
जाएगा अंकल, नवंबर में
Next,
कहाँ है?
Amrit,
हमने
Amrit
दिसंबर
ji,
में आया,
please
जो भी
switch,
बैच आया
please mute
दिसंबर में
करिए.
आया, पहले कैसे आ जाएगा फिर?
Amrin ji, mute करिए, please. Next, the last, our panelist, I would request Pratik ji. Just can you, what is your view on the employment scenario of persons with disability now when it has been enhanced with this NEP 2020? So what is your
नहीं
view?
तो
What
कॉलेज
is
से
your
कराएगा.
experience, because you are working in this?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Jayanti. I think just very quickly, 2-3 points. One, I think the NEP focuses a a lot more on the so-called extracurricular activities. When I was a kid, those things were extracurricular. Those are the mainstream now. So I think arts, music, sports, everything that was so-called extracurricular during 15 years ago when I was 12-year-old is a mainstream career as well as independent living opportunity for young adults with disabilities. So I think we should not forget that. And for young adults with disabilities as well. So when we speak about accessibility, it's not just about access to a classroom. It's also about access to a midday meal. It's also about access to a sport. So I think that's one. When we think about accessibility, we will think about various other things in terms of employment. The second important point, Dr. Jayanti, very quickly is that I think, as Nanita ma'am was also saying, we need to move beyond the traditional idea of employment for adults with disabilities. No, I mean, for how many centuries we will continue to do diya making with kids with intellectual disabilities? So I think technology is there. And also families of people with disabilities, as Geeta is saying and others would agree, they also worry about freedom, dignity, and independence of adults with disabilities, not just as traditional linear career paths in those traditional outside. So I think we need to marry technology, move beyond the envelope making and diya making for at least employment which gets created in a sector and not from the government. And I think just the last point is that we also, wherever we have worked in community-based spaces, we've always seen that often the career paths and the context of the young adult is often just divorced. They're completely divergent. So sometimes the cultural context of where the young adult is coming from is also very, very important. They might come from a geography which has a geography expertise in a certain thematic area, but that needs to be bottoms up approach. So I think the family, the adult, and the community need to take a decision on where the expertise will go to. Some of those elements have worked well for us when we worked in urban slums in a city like Delhi, and hence just sharing our experiences. I know the time is less, so I'll close here.
Thank you so much. And with this, we have come to the conclusion of this panel discussion. To summarize within half a minute, I would like to just to deliberate that this is a very excellent. Thank you for all the panelists. An excellent deliberation by all the panelists. Main theme we have brought out with this panel discussion is transitions to start from the beginning. And socio-emotional skills are very important for the success in transition to adulthood. And there are reasonable accommodation and the role of caregiver also have been highlighted. And the right support from the family and community will go long way for the transition to adult by persons with disability. Thank you so much. And I conclude. Over to you, President IACP.